All right. Shut
Is that not our jam or what?
It's the only jam I have on there. I really need to put some real music into the machine. That would be
only one song? Oh.
Wait, I have that. I have to remember that is in there. Well, good morning.
Good
morning, Vietnam.
Yeah, take a nice deep breath in. You smell that? Smells like a giant forest fire, about 50% contained is what that smells like.
And I gotta have water because my lungs, I just keep coughing because of the smoke in the air is so bad. I've just been coughing all week, and so I don't want to cough.
I'm sure that definitely that plays a part, but you've also been muzzled a lot lately, so that doesn't really help with your health either, does it?
Yeah, that does not help with my health at all. Having to wear a mask at work nonstop, and that has not helped at all.
Yeah. Fortunately, I'm in a job as usual where I get to exercise my freedoms more freely than most people, which is unfortunate for all those people forced into that. So breathing a little bit easier myself.
Yeah.
Sorry, guys.
So everybody out there, how are you doing? Hopefully you're staying safe. I know there are a lot of crazy things happening in the weather right now. We have, for the first time in history, a possibility of two possible hurricanes merging into one psycho hurricane down south, which is crazy. And then in Iowa, I think it was Iowa, they had some sort of like what they call a land hurricane, which was basically what wind that was so insane that it basically destroyed Iowa so bad that you can see it from space.
Aren't there northern parts of Washington that experience that every year? I've heard of like certain tops of mountains that have like 200-mile-an-hour winds at times.
Yeah, it's nuts, but a lot of it got destroyed. It was so bad, but because Iowa, they have like #1 pig production, #1 corn production, #1, bean production, #1, like they're #1 and everything.
Agriculture,
and like for a week,
agriculture.
And then in the world, and then they got totally lambasted by this storm, and it's not even on the news.
Oh, of course
it's not even on the news. Like,
it doesn't fit a narrative or agenda right now, so we don't want it.
So for over a week, and unfortunately, it's more of a salt of the earth kind of place, and so there's a lot of like not so rich people. I don't know how to say it. They're poor. So farmers they're not rich. Most farmers are barely making it, and a lot of them take federal subsidies because that's the only way they can make it is to get a little bit of federal subsidy money. And so
it makes you realize and
their entire
understand and appreciate just how important farmers are.
Yeah, and then to have everything just completely destroyed, and you can literally see it from space. It got completely destroyed, and then we have like I said, we have those two, those two hurricanes that might merge, and then of course our fires. We have fires, and then California has fires.
Luckily, none of ours are deciding to merge yet, but they're definitely, some of them are growing.
And then we had California. Northern California has a ton of wildfires. So I know it's crazy. I know that Australia had their in the past. That's how 2020 started out, actually. Crazy enough, if you go all the way back.
Oh, that's right. Yeah, the fires in Australia.
Yeah, the fires in Australia where they were just
poor koala bears.
I know, those were horrific videos coming out of Australia. Was the fires? Australia was just literally on fire.
Speaking of Australia, good morning, Rogue Gaming.
I know, right? Yep. And Bass Reich, what's up, brother?
Hope you guys are only just cleaning up the cinders now. You're not still on fire.
Well, I think they kind of year-round have fires, but they have a fire season, much like we do, and their fire season is over. But I'm sure that there are times when they have fires. But their fire season is long past gone. It ended in March, from what I understand. That was about the time when it ended. What's up, Road Gaming? How's it going, brother? So...
speaking of that, there's also the international dateline. So what's it like in the future?
I know, right? Yeah.
And that side of the equator. So as of right now, you guys are getting to the end of your winter right now. I think is how that works.
Well, yeah. So
pretty much opposite of how we're going right now, since we're nearing the end of our summer.
Something like that.
Correct me
it
if I'm
hurts my
wrong.
brain to think like that, but
Wait,
they're in the
opposite world.
future.
What's going on here?
I know. So our fire that is like 12 miles north of town is 44% contained. So almost 50% contained.
Yep.
We have the best jump team in the nation on it. So that is really good.
Working their stinking butts off.
Yes,
Holy
they
cow.
are. And it is about 4,000 acres shy of the largest forest fire in history for us in Colorado. It's still a really large fire, but it's almost 50% contained, which is a huge deal. We hadn't seen the sun in like 2 weeks. I mean, it literally ash all over every car on the streets. It looked like we were up next to a volcano.
I judge it by being able to or not being able to see the mesa. If I look out my back window and I can see the mountains up there, then, hey, it's a pretty clear day. If I can't, then there's been times where it's been fog or a rainstorm or whatever. It's like, whoa, the mountains just disappeared. But no, for 2 weeks straight, it's been because of the smoke and the ash and all the fallout from that fire.
Yeah, and so it's been bad enough the smoke has barreled over, and we're surrounded by mountains, and so we're in a valley, and there's mountains everywhere, and then what happens is the smoke comes into the valley and settles in the valley, and then we can't see through the smoke, so it blocks our view, and we can't even see the mountains around us, which they're literally like 5 to 8 miles in every direction, and we can't even see 5 to 8 miles. The smoke's so thick.
On the opposite end of that spectrum, anybody who's hanging out on top of the Grand Mesa probably has a weird view too, because they probably haven't seen Grand Junction in a couple of weeks.
That's a good point. Honestly, there's been a couple times I've been up there on the Grand Mesa and looked down, not this year, but other times, and just fog has kept me from seeing the Grand.
Well, we get inversion here too, so if you go up on a really rough part of the wintertime and you have that trapped up there, you get a lot of cloud, like a real thin layer of cloud strata that's up there that actually blocks it out too. It's a really interesting sensation to suddenly feel like a whole town just disappeared under the clouds.
That is kind of cool. But today, we went out back and looked, and I could see the mountains.
Yep.
I could see the clouds, actual like real clouds, not like smoke.
When I opened up my truck door, I didn't get a flurry of ash in my face. It's a different feeling.
Yeah, that's always a good feeling. So I think we're getting the light at the end of the tunnel, metaphorically speaking. You know what I mean? So
yes,
that is good.
Let it come. Bring the rain.
Yes, and we did get a little sprinkle, but it was like literally a sprinkle. And
hopefully that meant
gone.
more to them over there than it did the little sprinkle that got to us.
It does tend to rain weirdly in our valley, where like it might rain over there but not here, or over there but not here. So hopefully they got something.
I heard people speak of this, and I walked outside, and I'm like, oh, I think it's right, but it's just my neighbor's sprinklers going off.
Yeah. Well, we want to hang out today and have a good time with you guys. So for everybody who's here, we're going to hang out. We're going to play.
Tried to pull up the bright side of all the doom and gloom, but moving on.
Yeah. And we've got Debate the Internet cards today. So we grabbed it. We're going to debate.
The only good debate these days is a comical debate. Something that's about,
right?
whether or not you like cheeseburgers.
Exactly. Matt B, what up, brother? He's all random podcast. Click, tune me in. Glad to catch you guys. What up, brother?
Gotta love it when that happens the correct accidental way.
Yeah, for sure. So,
glad to accidentally have you.
If you've never been here, which I doubt that's the case, but if you've never been here, I'll go through the instructions. The way it works is we're going to hang out for the next hour or so together, and we're going to chat, and then at the end of it, I'll do a story time. Have kind of a funny story at the end, which comes from when I was in BUDS, Basic Underwater Demolition Seals, where I insult my instructors, actually, and I get punished for it. So it's kind of a funny story. Stay tuned for that. That's a fun time. But before that, we're going to hang out for about an hour and do these questions. You guys get to participate live, which is super fun. You'll get to literally answer, and we'll read your answers on the video. You'll become a permanent part of the video, which is really fun, and we'll get to see what you guys think of the questions as well. For anybody who's watching after the fact, because there are anywhere from 300 to 1,200 people who watch after the fact, we are going to also be participating with you. All you have to do is watch and then type in your answers into the comments at the end or during while you're watching. And I respond to each and every comment. I've always done that. I always will. I've always been committed to communicating with people through the comments section. So love that. Bassreich. He says he predicts a good beating from your instructors.
They never disappoint.
They never disappoint. I'll say sugar cookie. So anyway, Bassreich, if he knows what that is, he already knows how the story ends. But anyway, it's more than that. But we will get started. We got 15 concurrent viewers, so that's pretty cool. That's a good start. We just literally launched. We got 3 likes though.
Here, so
yeah, we got 3 likes though. But if there's 15 people watching, and if there's 15 people who enjoy the show, there should be 15 likes, I would think. But anyway, there's just that. So we're gonna get going.
Darn common sense and basic logic.
I know. Let's go ahead and or 15 dislikes. No, I'm just kidding. Don't do that, please.
Go either way.
They're like, oh, dislike. He told me to like it.
And there they go.
I know, right? Well, it's funny. It's like one of those things where I literally never asked for that. So it's they're like, wait, he says he never asks for that. He asked for it. Let's give him a dislike. Okay, let's see who gets to go first. I won. Seems like, hey, didn't we play a game on Friday night?
Friday night?
Yeah. You, me, and Kevin.
Oh, yeah, that night that I conveniently forgot about and have never since remembered until this exact moment in time.
Yeah, why don't you tell everybody about it? It happened. I can't remember. I have.
So for those of you who like board games, so those of you who have been around board games for a while may have heard of a game called Settlers of Catan. These days, they're just calling it Catan because, cancel culture and all that stuff. We got to abbreviate things down to make it more simple, stupid for everybody. But we were playing Catan, a game that we enjoy and that we play pretty regularly. I would like to say that we've all got our own strategies, our own ideas of how the game could go. We try to, do certain things to help out at times when we're in a certain mood, other things that kind of basically screw over the other players at times, kind of depending on the mood and how the game's going and kind of, where the direction is going. Well, we generally go after this guy here because he's played much longer than us. He's a Mr. Strategy Mind. He's Mr. Gamer, all that. So he wins pretty regularly. I've definitely put him in his place a few times, so I can pat myself on the back for that. But this particular night, I guess not only was it just his strategy was working out perfectly, the dice, the RNG was rolling in his favor, but no matter what we did, we were still just being whacked in the face by a 2x4 every time we had to make a move on him. Nothing was happening. We couldn't get settlements built. We couldn't get resource cards. I think the game lasted maybe an hour.
Yeah, 48 minutes or something like that. It was a lightning fast game. And that was mostly
because me and RSK were laughing our butts off so hard, just going, this is so ridiculous. I mean, you can't write this stuff. You can't make this stuff up. This is an RNG game. This is totally chance here. But he absolutely wiped the floor with us. I mean, we literally did not get to build. No, me or
it was
Kevin,
truly one of the best games I've ever played.
We didn't get to build a single settlement. We didn't get to build anything other than a couple of roads, and I managed to get the largest army, and that was it. And then by the time we were sitting there going, I was still laughing maniacally at this point. I'm like, I never had such a good time having my rear kick so hard. But it was hilarious just how quick that game was, and absolutely decimated us. It was not even a contest.
Normally, it frustrates and puts people in a bad mood to have a game go that way, that bad. Because normally it's really close and you either win or you lose by 1 point or actually with you and I, most of the time the game is won or lost by one round.
Literally, one round of turns.
It literally comes down to one round, and someone either wins or loses based off of.
It's been a matter of, I didn't push hard enough to try and get somebody to trade me a resource card so I could win right then. So I let it go one more turn, and then your turn, you're sitting there waiting to win. Or it was cool, I got this on the next round, and he's like, oh, okay, so that's this, and I'll go ahead and build a city, and I'll upgrade to that, and then there's 2 victory points, and that's 10 points. I win.
Yep. So, but this time it was 3 points, 5 points, and then 10 points, and it was over in less than 50 minutes. It was super fun. But anyway, I had to bring it up.
3 people games do tend to go faster, but no. I'll give you some credit for that, but I'll also just give most of the credit for the fact that it was it was pretty entertaining to lose that horribly.
Execution was on point, but so was RNG. I got all of the rolls just perfectly exactly what I was on. So Icy Hand is not going to give me a like out of principle. Good on you, brother.
Be your own man.
Yeah, be your own man. Don't fall into the peer pressure that was applied. Robert Arnold, what's up, my brother? He misses us. Definitely Force Canada, Scissor Man.
Yes.
I miss the group from Star Wars Galaxy Heroes and the team and everybody there for sure. Force Canada Rock it out, brother. Matt B, there's another
And
like
for everything
sure.
else, just blame Canada. Blame Canada. Blame Canada.
Matt B played Risk, but the Game of Thrones version of Risk. I actually have that. I love Risk.
So
And
let me guess, your Game
Thrones
of Risk
version.
was fantastic all the way up to the last season, right?
I have the Game of Thrones Risk, and I like it. There's different variants you can play on that Risk, but I do actually just appreciate the original version of Risk more than even the Game of Thrones version. But something about it, just from the childhood, it's something like don't mess with it. But I do have the Game of Thrones version. I do like it, but I like the original better. And then
Never played the board game Risk all the way through for one complete game. Never done it.
Robert Arnold says he wishes he could convince us both to play Lords of Waterdeep.
That
Best
won't take
board
much
game.
convincing, actually. I'm always up for new board games.
Yeah, me too. And I've never played it, so I'd love to see it. What up, Revenator? What up, my brother? Matt B says, yeah, that's right. My sister won. Not a great last turn.
Yeah. Don't you love that when everything's going good all the way up to the last turn and then somebody just completely 180s it on you and you're just like, stole the wind right out my sails.
All right. Well, debate the internet. Question number 1. Let's start and see what you guys think. All right. If your TV was stuck to one channel for the rest of your life, what would you want it to be?
Ooh.
Now, there's
Sounds
one
like
caveat.
opinion locked and loaded. Wait, hold on a second.
There's one caveat. They've ixnayed ESPN. So it can be anything, but
Darn.
I know, right? Ooh. Well, for some people, that might be the option, but they're saying it can't be ESPN. That's because these guys are like sports fanatics, if you haven't
For
figured that out.
people like that, I feel for you because for what sports used to be, for what the entertainment side of it used to be, I can see why you'd mourn the loss of it because it is definitely an absolute frail fraction segment of itself of what it used to be. So that's sad to see, especially
one
for
channel
what they're trying to
for
put
the rest
on
of your
that.
life
But,
can't be ESPN. What's the channel
unfortunately,
stuck
my
to?
answer is going to have a similar caveat because caveat, but it's more in the sense that with everything going way too political these days and ruining themselves, and it's just kind of like stay out of it. If nothing else, stand your ground against it. In a lot of ways, but History Channel would have been my first pick for that, just because there's so much good stuff in there and just a lot of. I always like knowing where we came from so I can see how it's destroyed us now. I see Food Network. Hey, food porn's a good thing sometimes, It's something that definitely doesn't destroy lives or marriages. So that's, that's a healthy one, as long as it doesn't destroy you physically. But no, I think before it became too political and got bought out, I think Disney actually owns History Channel now. They own so many other production companies now. It's ridiculous.
Yeah.
But I would say, pretty safely be able to say that I still think that there's a good amount of true, worthwhile history on that channel, and it's always good to learn from the past so you are not doomed to repeat it. Speaking to all of you millennials out there.
Well, they change who's a millennial all the time. Like
Every other day, yeah, I know.
They're like, hey, you're not
I'm
a
sorry,
millennial.
but
Now
I
you are
grew up a
millennial.
Generation Xer. I'll maintain it. They can change the years all they want. I know what I am.
Skywalker Vader says, hi, guys, Weather Channel. Well, there is some really fun footage of like the weather destroying.
The Weather Channel's become more than just the weather. Yes, I've definitely seen some cool documentaries on there before and different things. There's kind of like, I thought I came here to check and see how I was going to dress for the day, but no.
I think I would probably want something like the History Channel too. And like you said, it's starting to devolve. But if it didn't devolve, if it was just like the original, the way it was, something
I like
the
Wild
History
Hair
Channel.
Dude and Ancient Aliens as much as anybody else, but
Yeah. But yeah, I don't know. I do love learning about history. I really love history. So I'd probably be on the History Channel. I can't think of any other.
Discovery Channel used to be up there, but they're kind of weird now too.
I don't know. Discovery Channel's a good second or a tie for first, and this is why I love Shark Week. I love me some animals. Animal Planet. Ooh, that's a good one, but that's on Discovery, right?
But
Animal
even then, you
Planet
still
is a
get all this,
shoot-off.
all this injected agenda of climate change and global warming and global
Yeah, so
cooling. And,
I wouldn't go. I don't think I would go Animal Planet because that's that. I would probably go Discovery because you get a blend of. The Discovery has some history, has some animal stuff, has some this.
and you get to see cool places you'd never travel to otherwise. So,
and you might see some David Attenborough. But no, I do. I love Discovery Channel, and I do love me some Shark Week. I have like multiple seasons of Shark Week, and I love Shark Week. I love hearing the stories of like the shark attacks. Love shark attacks.
It's terrifying and never go in the water again, but for some reason,
or like
love to
the
hear
video
about
of the girl who went swimming and she's like, there's boats around her and she's
Oh,
middle of
yeah.
the ocean and she's like a slightly overweight white lady and she's like in the middle and she's like, hey guys, and they're like, get out of the water. She's like, it starts getting drug under and it's like a big great white and it's like, oh my God,
Yeah.
they're actually filming her being
random
eaten
out of nowhere.
And I'm like, and she survives, because great whites are cool. They're like, I'm just going to take a bite out of you and see what's what. And they're smart because they're like, I'm just going to bite you and then wait for you to die.
Exploratory bites, yes.
And then eat you. Whereas bull sharks are like totally messed up. Bull sharks are like, I'm going to rip your arm off and then I'm going to swallow it
tiger sharks,
quickly.
all super aggressive.
And then I'm going to come back and rip your leg off and then swim away. And then I'm going to come back and rip your face off. And then I'm going to swim away. And then I'm going to come back and finish the rest of your corpse because you'll be dead by then. Bull sharks are the worst. They literally are responsible for more human fatalities in the world than any other shark out there. Bull sharks are literally the worst. And I know this because of Discovery Channel.
Thank you very much. Oh, hey, see you later, Rogue Gaming. Glad you could join us in the future.
Yeah. So, let's see. Matt B says History Channel because it won't cause marriage friction since the wife enjoys it too. That's good. I see no Jedi here. Says a lot of channels put me off with their agendas, personally speaking, for sure. Robert Arnold says I'm a movie addict, so HBO Max or something similar. That's not a bad idea. That's a good. Yeah, that was pretty good. And you know what? They come up with some really unique, like proprietary type stuff. So something like Stars or Stars Max, where they have like premium movies, that would be a good idea. So Robert Arnold,
that would
good
be
one.
fun, but as a movie buff, I like to choose my own movies as opposed to just kind of being side swiped by something. Whereas with TV shows, it's usually quicker. I can sit down to that and be like, I could try this out. Something else good comes on, as opposed to, well, now I'm stuck on Tombstone again, which, well, is never really a bad thing.
And then Rogue Gaming, it's like 2:30 in the morning, brother. So he's got to bail, and I totally get that because he lives in the future. So we gotta let Rogue Gaming go to bed. So see you later, brother. I see no Jedi says, yeah, exploratory bites. They're
Sounds
the worst.
like foreplay, doesn't it?
But I'd rather be exploratorily bitten by a great white than have a bull shark attack me. I mean,
True.
An 8-foot bull shark would
go to
ravage
bite
me
right through.
way worse than a 16-foot great white. Honestly, it's just the truth. More people survive a great white, a 12 to 16-foot great white attack,
Even though they are the scariest.
Anyone that gets attacked by an 8-foot bull shark. So the only reason why people survive or don't get attacked by bull sharks in like the Mississippi River is because they're swimming up the Mississippi River to lay their babies, and they're not interested in eating at that time. They're literally up there and trying to not have anybody know they're there because they're laying their babies and they don't want any business with anybody.
I'm enjoying my personal space.
Yeah, but if they were actually hungry, and wanting to like eat a human, they totally could do that because they do. They swim upland and upstream, and they actually go into fresh water. Bull sharks do. They go into freshwater rivers and swim upstream out of the ocean into the rivers. And they're 8-foot sharks inside of rivers. It's like, oh, what?
Nuts.
By the way, I just read an article that they are finding crocodiles in Florida. That is not a normal natural thing. We have alligators. We don't have crocodiles. What the WTF? Seriously.
Hey, the world's on fire. Everybody's going backwards. Truth is ignored on a regular basis. Lions are laying with lambs. We know what that means.
I know. Someone is bringing the wrong thing over. Like, don't do that. Stop that.
Hey, bring on the end times, baby. I'm all ready for it.
Skywalker Vader says, does the Playboy channel count? I suppose, but isn't that
like
going
we said,
away?
Ideally, if you're not ruining marriages or yourself in the process, I mean, not only does half their programming probably pretty
Robert Arnold
lowbrow
I
IQ stuff,
but he changes his
But I get it. I'm a man like anybody else. I get it.
All right, you're up. Let's do the next question.
Moving right along.
Sore throat.
Yeah. If you could go to any sporting event ever, which would it be? It's not so much a debate question, is it? That's just kind of
any sport. Well, it's a debate because everybody's gonna have a different opinion,
right?
Any sporting event,
ever. So I guess that kind of means any point in time or whatever.
Oh,
so,
yeah. Straight up, it would be the UFC from 2,000 years ago. I would totally go to a gladiator fight.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, I would literally go to
See
go
some
watch.
guys get fed to lions and gladiators going at it and limbs being severed.
Gladiatorial combat would be my thing. I'd want to watch it, but I'd want it to be man on man. I'd want them to choose their weapons. I wouldn't want it to be like a lion versus a man. I just one, the lion would probably tear the guy apart. It's just gross. And two, if they killed the lion, I'd be like, damn it, like that's a lion. Don't do that to the lion. Like I'd be mad either way. One way it'd be like disgusting to watch him be ripped apart. And two, if he killed the lion, I'd be like ticked that they killed the lion. So it'd be like, I'm not really into that like weird faces of death type stuff.
Nah.
I'd be more into just like mano a mano fighting type stuff, the gladiatorial combat.
Who got lucky? Who's stronger? Who came out on top? Yeah.
Yep. Gladiatorial stuff, the gladiatorial combat, because it's like the UFC, but the real UFC. So yeah, I'd probably.
That's hilarious. We have a Skywalker Vader and a Darth Skywalker. So I guess we're both doing the whole inverted play on words here. Miracle on Ice.
I know. That's hilarious.
That'd be a good one. For me, I guess it's nice to say that I would have to go all the way back to 1914 to see the last time the Cubs won the World Series, but I don't have to now because I watched the 2016 World Series. Thank you very much. So scratch that one off the bucket list. Any sporting event ever. I guess there's plenty of other sporting events that'd be cool. I mean, like to even go back and see like the first Olympics would be kind of crazy to see what kind of events were there and what kind of feats of strength and what kind of what athletes are doing compared to what they're doing now, which is just also insane because of course we have to keep on upping the ante every time.
Well, and the engineering is so much better now. I mean, like a shoe now in comparison to a shoe 100 years ago. I mean, runners have the advantage significantly just in footwear.
Yeah.
Just in footwear. What we know about stretching and biology.
Advances of modern science, medical care, people are living older and more vital,
What we give them in supplements, how you eat, how you sleep, everything we know about
Pump them full of HGH and hope it doesn't show up. I mean, just all kinds of ways that we can, but no, I think if it
horse steroids.
Wasn't going to be, horse tranquilizers on top for afterwards. Cortisol shots left and right, baby. No, I would say also if it wasn't going to be for the World Series, being able to see that, then I probably have to go back and watch. As much as I hate the Yankees, I'd have to go back and watch good old Babe Ruth play one of his best games ever. Doesn't really matter which. I wouldn't even have to see him win a World Series because, good Lord, the guy is just a legend. Still the greatest baseball player of all time. I'll fight you on that one. So, I would say probably just going back to be able to see the great Bambino slug a few out of the park and pitch a perfect game while he's at it, too, because he's still the most complete player.
I see no Jedi here says 1966 World Cup. That'd be good. Robert Arnold says his Leafs won 1967 the Cup. So that would be his answer. That's a good one.
The Stanley Cup.
Yeah. Or I see no Jedi says, or the first Olympics. That would be pretty cool. That was your thought as well. That would be kind of cool. Skywalker Vader says Rumble in the Jungle. Ali boxing match. That would be interesting. Darth Skywalker's computer freaked out and wrote his 3 times, but it's he'd love to see Rocky and Apollo versus Apollo Creed.
Apollo!
The filming of it, or
no, man, it's an event in history. It's real life to him.
It really happened. It really
not just happened. Movies to me. Wrestling's not fake.
Yeah. No, that's a good scene. I actually just saw that they were talking about the filming of it and the making of it, and they had some fun making it. So Joe Wagner says, "I agree with you, SureShot. Let's go. I'll bring the beer." Yeah, Joe Wagner, you're a Chicago fan, so
whoop, whoop.
Yep. Yeah. So nobody else is with me. Nobody wants to go back in time and watch humans mano a mano fight. Weapons.
I mean, that's a good one. I wouldn't have gone back that far. I wouldn't have thought that far ahead or that far back.
Well, I was going to pick UFC, and do one of those, but I would have gone back to like probably like UFC 8 if I was going to go pick a specific UFC.
Hadn't have time to be established and still probably worthwhile fighters and all that as opposed to the first one.
Yeah, well, okay. So this is the problem. So UFC went through to like 33, I think, and then got banned. And then I have them all. I have to look. I can't remember the thing. But then it got banned, and then it got kicked out of the United States because John McCain. And then it was banned it was gone for a couple of years, and then Australia picked it up. Thank you, God, Australia. And then Australia was like, "All right, we can fight it down here."
I love it when something's tenacious enough. It's just like, okay, fine, you don't like us here, we'll go somewhere we're liked.
Yeah. So I love you, Australia. And Australia was like, "We'll do it." So then they picked it up, and they filmed it down there, and there was a couple of fights, and there's one fight that was not recorded, and that was, I think, 36. I want to say this like 31 through 35, and then
unreleased footage.
36 is missing, and then 37 is recorded, and 30, and then in like 38 or something, they came back to the States, and 38 on, it's in the States, and I'm hazy in the 30s. So it's like it stopped in the United States. There was a break, and then it went to Australia, and then it came back from Australia in the late 30s. And there is one missing, but they did have, every one of them is concurrent. So, but there is one fight. It's like UFC 36 or UFC 35. It's missing. It's literally missing. There's no footage. Fights. And I own every UFC in existence during that time. I have all of them on DVD. Even the ones from Australia, I have them imported from Australia, literally, because I'm that kind of a fan, except for the one that's missing. I think it's UFC 36. I pull out my UFCs and look, but I don't have them on my thing because I'm waiting for him to move out so I can move my studio upstairs.
One day.
Yeah, so I can't remember that, but anyway,
lots of events you'd like to go back and be able to see. Kind of like, I mean, obviously it's not a sporting event, but I was really butthurt in a lot of ways about, the fact that there's a lot of theatrical movies out there that are theatrical releases, and when they just get chopped up to death on the editing room floor, then the director's cut comes out later, and you're like, this was a 10 times better movie. Why didn't they let that one go through? So super excited about the Snyder Cut for any DC Justice League fans out there.
Interesting. Matt B said he'd go. He'd go back to ancient Rome. And
I'd go with you. If I could do 2 trips, believe me, that those 2 would be taken care of for sure. I'd go along with you. I'd see some guys get their heads chopped off. I don't care.
Yeah. Bassreich says he would love the Muhammad Ali combat, most epic Muhammad
because that's
Ali
in
combat.
the past. It's already happened. You can't, you can't be a horrible person for wanting to enjoy it now.
I see no Jedi here. Says gladiatorial combat, cool, but no fun for the average Joe Christian. I get it.
Hey.
I get it, but still, it would be.
It could still be just as fun. They just might have a much bigger moral qualm about it.
You got to remember, we're just checking it at the door, and we're just asking a theoretical question.
Mm-hmm. This is all playtime, make believe fantasy.
Yeah. Joe Wagner says, or back to the original wrestling matches. Weird.
Yeah. Those might have been kind of interesting. I've never been a fan of getting that close to another male, but as far as the feats of strength and seeing amazing physical human ability or whatever, that'd probably be pretty interesting to see.
I don't know if I've ever seen Matthew Shetler comment ever. So Matthew Shetler says he's a Gladiator fan. He'd do it. What's up,
Nice.
Matthew Shetler? That's a new name that I haven't ever seen.
Glad to
comment.
have you.
Yeah, so glad to have you comment. Interesting. So, okay, well, awesome. I'm glad to see you hop in and comment. Let's go to the next one and see where everybody is at with a warm-up.
Mm-hmm.
We'll see how arrogant we are. How arrogant the audience is.
I could be horribly arrogant if I want to.
Yeah. How fast could you throw a fastball on an MLB mound?
Ooh.
I already know the answer to this. I actually did this when
I do as well. Yeah. I've been in a pitching machine before.
Yep. By the way, Matthew says he's from one of my he was a fan since back in the Star Wars Galaxy Heroes days, the Swagaga days. Mm-hmm. Pretty cool. Well, thanks for swinging on in and checking us out here. I'm appreciative that you're actually involving yourself in the comments and stuff. We love hanging out and just socializing. So I'm glad you're in here socializing with us. It's fun. I love it. Robert Arnold says he thinks he can hit 70 miles an hour, but it's not hit, it's throw. How fast could you throw a fastball? You throw a fastball. This is where the arrogance comes in. How fast could you do it?
I think he was saying in the sense of I could hit 70 miles an hour. I could get up to that.
I played baseball for 8 years until I broke my front tooth, and then I played for like 2 years after that, and then I was done. But
I played a lot of baseball as a kid. I was never on a team. I was homeschooled, and the town that I was in did not like homeschooling, so therefore there's never any availability. You can't sign up for these classes that even though you pay taxes for and you can legally, rightfully go to them, you're not allowed to be a part of it because we say so. So
Scum Puppy says, New Galactic Legends are waiting for you, brother. I heard they're bringing out New Galactic Legends, by the way.
Yeah, they went and gave us a dog crap Jedi Knight Luke, and now they're giving us a Galactic Legends Luke. But after you get another Fett and somebody else, I don't know. I don't care anymore. But the plain fact of the matter is, when I was much younger, I played baseball an awful lot, wherever I could, with whoever wanted to. I joined up with a couple of team softball leagues here and there. So I got in wherever I possibly could, and I was in a pitching machine one time. So I do know my personal best. All the way back at 19 years old, I was pitching 89 miles an hour. So for whatever that's worth.
Yeah, you beat me.
Yep.
The fastest, because so we have JUCO here.
Oh yes.
And that is actually MLB mound regulation as far as the distance for the Junior College World Series, from the mound to the thing. And they had a bunch of guys that were there like with a gun behind, and they were doing that. Anyway, there was a bunch of us kids that were there, and I played baseball, and so they were like, "Hey, you guys want to throw and see how fast you guys could throw the ball?" And we were like, "Yeah, we want to see." So I got out there, and I threw my absolute hardest fastball that I could, and it was like 86 miles an hour, 87 miles an hour. I can't remember exactly. It was mid 80s, like 86, I think. That's what's sticking in my head, 86 miles an hour. And they were like, "Darn," but my brother threw 92 miles an hour. So he smoked me. I was like, ugh. And they were just like, whoa. Because my brother was like, I don't know. He didn't even warm up. He just grabbed it and threw like 92 miles an hour. And I was
natural,
like,
perfect form out of nowhere. Thanks a lot.
Well, my brother played for 8 years as well.
Yeah.
We did 2 sports long term: baseball and bowling. And my brother was better at both of them. He long term bowled. He got a 300 bowling game. I got a 299. Like, seriously, you have to beat me at everything. I know. Yeah, he's that guy that one ups me on everything. But I love my brother. But yeah, he always.
I was the oddity when it came to me and my older brother. Unfortunately, I was the younger brother that was much more athletic than my older brother in a lot of ways. So I usually outdid him in a lot of things.
So it was just one of those things. That was the fastest I've ever been clocked. And no, I think I could throw faster than that at some point in my life, because that wasn't
warm up, with practice, with conditioning. Absolutely. Yeah.
At the time I was like 12 or 13. So my arm strength wasn't at its peak prime. I mean, that was like really, really good for a 13-year-old. Although I was in my baseball prime. I mean, I'd been playing since I was like, 7. So from 7 to 13, it was like 6 years or whatever of playing baseball, every season for 6 years. And I only had like 2 more years till 15, and then I quit. Because I just kept getting injured every time I played something. I get injured everywhere. Every time I do anything, I get injured. I don't know. I'm like my own worst enemy. By the way, Andrew jumps in. He's like laughing. Of course he's laughing at me. He knows.
Just happened to be here for that part of the conversation. Good timing as usual.
I know, right?
I have to jump back and answer somebody's question. I think the world record, as far as I know, is 105 miles an hour. I think that is the fastest anybody's ever been able to wing a baseball before.
Matthew says he was homeschooled too, lucky enough to play on a basketball team. Basketball, cool. That's fun. Darth Skywalker, 35 miles an hour.
Yay for functioning homeschoolers.
Soccer doesn't develop those throwing muscles. Joe Wagner says when he was young, he threw one for 88. That's
nice.
Now forgot.
Did it go back in time?
That's pretty cool. Icy hand, maybe 60. Hey, no shame in that. A lot of people can't even throw it that fast. Honestly, that's pretty good. Fish guy Josh says, speaking of gladiators, check out the first episode of Home Game on Netflix. The sport they cover in combining MMA with rugby. It's so brutal. It's only played 2 times a year. Interesting.
It takes that long for everybody to recover to come back and play again.
Home Game. Interesting. I'll have to check that out.
Yeah.
Interesting. Oh, and then Jedi Luke and Sith Eternal Emperor are the new Galactic Legends that are coming out. Sith Eternal Emperor? That's a new GL, huh?
How can you be eternal when you're just cloning yourself and transferring from whatever?
Sith Eternal. That sounds really cool, though. Question, do you know the record? And you said that you thought it was 105. And
I think so, like 105, 108, something like that.
Yeah, Andrew always beats me. That's just the way it works. In pool, in bowling, in baseball, in wrestling, until you make me mad. and then I kick down doors. That's a story time. That's a story time.
Wouldn't
actually.
like him when he's angry.
That's a hilarious story time. We had to work as a team to rebuild a frame of a door before Mom got home.
I hate you. We got to do something not to get in trouble by Mom. All bets are off, dude. We're buddies again.
Yeah, we had to become buddies because I kicked the door in, and I had to fix the door that I kicked in because he pinned me down.
Sith Eternal
pinned
sounds
my head
expensive.
down
That's
with a
the point.
stool. I couldn't get out. But anyway, that's another story for another time. Robert Arnold, there's my best friend. Hey, buddy. Nolan Ryan. Oh, yeah, Nolan Ryan for sure, man. Nolan Ryan was the man.
Oh, for who threw the fastest? I'm not sure who it was.
I see no Jedi here. Says Sith Eternal sounds expensive. Yeah. Yes,
I know. Recently and during the World Series, Aroldis Chapman, basically a gun for hire that we got from the Yankees, was throwing some heat at like 103 for a while too. So I know that he can get up there for a lefty of all things too.
Hey, for a lefty of all things.
Yeah,
take that back.
Oh, they're soulless, just like gingers. Didn't you know? No.
Nah.
Just kidding. We all joke around here. Obviously, left-handers are still people too.
If you didn't know, I'm left-handed.
Oh, and gingers too, I guess.
This is why I'm always injuring myself. I just want you to know that because the world is built for right-handers.
Yep. And
I'm a left-hander, and that's why I've been perpetually.
There's a real prejudice we need to start talking about.
Yeah, that's a real prejudice.
Yeah. Where's all the rioting and looting in the streets for that?
Soulless lefty gingers. You guys are evil. You guys are evil. I'm glad I don't have red hair. You guys would totally.
I went there a little bit. I didn't go the extra mile.
You're up. Let's just move on.
Changing the subject. All right. Oh man, this is a long-winded one. It's gonna take a while for you guys to really unpack this and think about it and decide what your thoughts are gonna be. So, how long could you go sober for?
Oh, I could go sober forever if I wanted to. I had a beer last night though.
Yeah,
9%.
A 9%. Ooh,
yeah,
wow.
Yeah, it was a Imperial.
Oh, an Imperial.
Dun, dun.
How pale was that ale?
IPV.
Well, did I tell you about gingers?
Yeah. No, it was, you know which one I drink. What's it called? It's the...
the Voodoo?
No. Yeah, you're on the same track. It's that one, but it's
they're not New Belgium, are they? No, they're...
You know which one I'm talking about.
Yeah, I know what you're talking about.
But it's the Imperial version.
Mm-hmm.
So...
Yeah, Imperial usually means, hey, we're going to add a few extra percentages of alcohol for you.
Yeah, instead of 7%, it was 9%. So I had one on, and they're like, well, you want to stay and have another? I'm like, well, I got to drive home, so no. I got my wife. I got to take her home. She just flew back in from her trip from California. So
Matt B was homeschooled from K through 12 as well. Nice.
Wow.
Hey, I know there's more of us around.
Yep.
Not the minority anymore, thanks to this. Anyways, not going there. So yeah, how long could you go sober for? That's the funny thing. Like, when they say it in that context, it's almost like you're already an addict and you don't spend a whole lot of time sober anyways. So if you really had to, how long could you go for? I mean, like that's taking it a little bit beyond, I think, in a lot of ways. But when you say, oh, I had a beer last night, were you drunk? Were you like not safe to get in the car and drive to the emergency room if you had to or whatever?
Yeah, no. Nope.
Yeah, exactly. So I wouldn't say then at that point that you were actually inebriated to say that you would have to go back to sober. So I don't know.
No, I just think they say like, how long could you abstain? I could abstain from beer forever.
Abstain for sober?
I like beer, but I don't need it. I could go without it.
I've gone sober for certain things in my life for 6 months. I've gone sober on another particular intimate act for the last 3 years. So yeah, I think I'm capable of going sober for a long time. So
withdrawing.
Yeah. I don't think I would draw that bad. It's obviously a mental game. I think in some ways, if there's certain things that I do that I don't have a reason to stop, then that's harder. But for anything that I suddenly get a reason for or I decide is going to happen, I am a pretty focused individual, which probably makes me pretty tough to be around in a lot of ways. I don't know. What do you think?
No. No, I don't think so. I think once you set your mind to it, you can do it. It's just a matter of whether you want to or not. You haven't have a desire to do that. So, but it's
for
not,
anybody who's suffering from an addiction, yeah, even if it's an intervention, whatever, you can say all you want, do all you want, whatever. It only will come down to when a person is ready and when they want it for themselves as much as you want it for them.
But I mean, I can say that literally, like, I go sometimes weeks or a month or more, and it's like, oh, I haven't had a beer. I should maybe I go get some, and we could have one tonight.
Not like I need it, but I enjoy it, so hey, why not? Yeah,
and so so I don't mind having one or not having one. I guess it doesn't matter if we don't or we don't, and if we do, we do. It's a take it or leave it type proposition. It's not something where I'm like every night going, oh, tonight I have to have a beer. What do you have? What do we have? And like you notice that with some people, sometimes they're like, well, I don't. I'll just drink whatever. Whatever you have. Just give me whatever. And it's like, well. Okay. So there's something to that. So, but
sometimes,
I can leave it for months. So it's not a big deal. I see no Jedi was wanting to know total or, like sober or total. And I think it was just how long could you abstain? In Darth Skywalker said eternity because he just never drinks. So
never drink, never. Man of Steel. I appreciate it.
Robert
like
Arnold
that.
says, are we
Nothing wrong
talking
with that.
booze or herb? Because booze, no problem, which it was alcohol, dude. So you're good, but herb, rather not. Yeah, that's hilarious. But you could transition the question to herb, and then that would be a tough.
I was answering in a very broad spectrum. I was touching on 3 or 4 different things.
Joe,
I got a lot of vices. I don't.
Joe Wagner says he could, but he wouldn't want to, which is good because he likes his Belgium bicycle beer. Which, for the record, by the way, I'm pretty sure that's a nice wheat beer. If I'm thinking right, if I'm on the same page as you, pretty sure that's a nice wheat beer.
Most Belgiums are.
Yeah,
and New Belgium. That's the actual brewing company.
Well, they do ales. They do.
Yeah,
wheats,
they do the spectrum.
Yeah, and then I see no Jedi here says moderation, right? And that's
exactly.
I think that's a big point. Most things in moderation. You can take anything too far.
Yeah, you can take anything too far. Of course, you can also be really broad about that because anything in moderation is just a little heroin. It's not that big of a deal. I mean, yes, I do agree, and it's funny how the science works around that. Is nobody ever dies really from heroin. It's usually what they don't do to their body that they should do. It's usually what they allow to happen. It's giving up on other.
I've never
daily
done heroin, bro, but
from what I hear,
heroin addicts, and boy, they never look healthy.
Well, it's kind of like cocaine. I don't like cocaine. I don't do cocaine. I just like the way it smells.
What? So. Wait, what? That's just a really, 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 really weird. Did you do 2? Yeah, okay. So I'm on 3.
Moving right along.
To the line, never passed it.
It's all things in moderation. They're even, and funny too, because lots of alcohol or lots of types of alcohol, drinking alcohol in a certain manner is actually good for you. Wine is good for your heart. Wine is, beer is good for your stomach and your digestive system. There's a lot of good things about it, but always in moderation.
Yeah. And then Darth Skywalker's like, wheat beer? I don't literally know anything about beer. Yeah. So there's different kinds of hops, that you can use.
There's pale ales, there's imperial pale ales, there's India pale ales.
Yep. You can use
wheats, pilsners, dark, lager, ambers.
Yeah, literally. All right. So another debate the internet question.
Let the debate begin.
Who is the strongest NFL player you could beat up in a hand-to-hand fight?
Tom Brady. He's tall. He's got some reach on me, but I'm spunky. He ain't gonna stand a chance. He'd protect his pretty teeth too much.
He'd run down. He'd be like, ah.
Not to mention, he's quite a bit older than me, so it's like beating up on the elderly. It's just not, it's not couth.
That's hilarious. You pick someone who's like buff, but would like totally give in on a fight. Yeah, I don't know. I would have to pick.
And that's just a
honestly,
joke,
I probably wouldn't pick a lineman because those guys know how to grapple. They really do. That's what they do. The whole game is grapple. So I wouldn't pick a lineman.
Once I got up off the floor, I'd be like, anybody catch the plate number of that truck?
I think I would probably pick a quarterback just because, their mindset, you can break them mentally, but.
Oh, there's a psychological game to it too. Yeah. I could beat somebody up in more ways than one. And Matt B, yes, that was like a reflex. I've thought about this before.
Yeah. You already knew who you were going to kick. You're like, I'm going to beat his face in.
And again, NFL player, but who would be more fun to beat up? And I think that would be a similar situation.
Yes,
Colin Kaepernick. Yep, that guy has not been beat up enough in life, and it shows.
Yeah, I kind of hate the fact that he's got such an amazing, wonderful, privileged life, that he has such an amazing story, that he has
that he just throws away.
He could project such success to others and how to have success for others, and instead he lives a life of victimization and projects victimization and selfishness, and it makes me sad because I mean, you have two choices in life.
Truly could have been a force for good. It's very unfortunate.
It does make me sad because like I said, he has two choices in that he could help people understand that they can pull themselves up by their bootstraps metaphorically, because we know you can't do that literally.
Or you can be privileged enough to be adopted by the right family.
But I mean, he has a really great story. It's a really amazing story, and it could be used for so much hope and optimism, and he's kind of trashed that and just gone with like everybody else is a victim. And it's like, well, hold on, just stop. Like, talk about you. Like, nobody cares about everyone else. When you're talking, everybody cares about you. It's
I
your
enjoy
story.
a success story over a poor me victim story any day of the week, and I'm tired of the victim stories.
But my point, I actually would. Well, I wouldn't beat up Colin Kaepernick. That would make him a victim. So I would actually refuse to beat up Colin Kaepernick, because that would literally feed into his
playing right into his game.
Yeah, I'd beat up. I'd beat up the same guy.
And Andrew, to specify, this is who is the strongest NFL player that you could beat up. So,
and you know what? But he's strong, so it would be a good. That would be a good match.
I think practically any worthwhile NFL player is strong and stronger than me in a lot of ways, because they have the conditioning that I don't have on a daily basis that I've paid copious amounts of money for.
I need friggin' hip surgery right now, dude. Like, I am literally hobbling, so any of them could kick my butt right now. So I would literally have to survive off of sheer knowledge right now, complete, knowledge and stuff. But Icy Hand says not a single one.
and only just really the people I could think of the top of my head that I actually want to, because generally I don't think of myself as just going out and beating up NFL players, because I don't generally think that I can.
That's funny. Darth Skywalker says Brady was his first thought too, and Icy No Jedi here says he'd beat up a kicker because they're fragile. That's hilarious.
They are. Yeah.
Joe Wagner says he'd probably somebody who's
they're
throwing interceptions.
And they're superstitious. They'd be like, hold on a second, I have to do a quick little ritual. I have to throw water over my left hand shoulder, and I have to go get my jock strap that I never washed. Then we can fight.
Yeah, and then let's see, Darth Skywalker. What is it? Taysom Hill would be the scariest quarterback to fight. He's a beast. Yeah, for sure.
Ooh, who's he the quarterback for? I don't keep up with football hardly at all, let alone anymore.
Not anymore. Yeah, I don't know. No, it would definitely Brady, because it would just be a challenge. He's exceptionally strong. He really is. And think about it. He would act like he's throwing a football to your face. He just like,
I mean, interesting downwards hammer fist almost, I guess.
I know.
What would you call that kind of a punch?
Ryugen.
Usually for guys who aren't really, or they're inept fighters and they don't know what they're doing, like Antifa, they do kind of throw pitches like that, or punches like that a lot.
Ryugen. Ryugen.
They'd go Street Fighter all of a sudden, yeah.
By the way, I watched a 6-part series on Netflix about the evolution of gaming, like how it was invented. By the way, story time.
You can thank Nintendo for a lot of that.
Yes, and that actually goes into that. But how did gaming actually how did it become invented? How did it start? The spark, the moment in time.
Gaming, how did it spark? I do have some knowledge of this. For some reason, I want to say Pac-Man was the original.
Nope.
Not first video game, but there was something original about that happened before it became the arcade game. But
boredom,
yeah.
Nope.
Then there was Pong, but
nope.
Going back earlier here, I'm just going to kind of work my way back.
You got to watch the series; it's amazing. So NASA.
Well, I was going to say Nintendo started off as a card game, but
in the 70s, NASA had some scientists that were bored. They were sitting around and they were using their computers, and they were doing some programming, and some of their programming caused some crap to happen where some stuff was flying around the screen and it looked like ships. And they were like, oh, look, it looks like Space Invaders. And they were like, ooh, let's make this like, it's like a fun little game. So they, on their off time, turned the little programming they were doing actually into the literal very first game ever. And it was private. It was just in NASA. It was just in this software and it was just in this computer. And a guy that was there was like, like, this is genius.
Next billion-dollar idea.
I could get it and put it into the masses and put a quarter slot in it, I could make money. And he took that idea out, and that voila, that's where gaming came from. It literally came from a guy who saw some scientists playing privately in a room.
Scientist part of what? Of where?
NASA.
NASA. See, there's so many different amazing things that have been invented thanks to NASA.
Yep. So gaming
so
came
glad
from
they've
NASA.
been defunded now. Oh.
Gaming came from NASA. So pretty awesome. It was literally an accident that they found through that. And then Nintendo,
like a lot of inventions by complete accident or out of necessity.
And then actually Atari was like the first real gaming system. And then Nintendo perfected the gaming system, but
let's go some special mentions for Commodore 64 and Commodore 128.
Yeah, I had a Commodore 64.
Had some plenty of games.
But so Atari was the first gaming console.
Vision.
And then there was a guy, he was actually this black dude. He was a really cool black dude who invented the very first cartridge system. After Atari, but before Nintendo. It was the very first cartridge system ever. And Nintendo basically kiped his invention, and that.
Because like I said, Nintendo was originally a card game, and then they morphed into that.
Yeah, and Nintendo basically saw his like invention, and they like kind of took his stuff, and his business just went under. And so nobody even knows who he is or anything. Like nobody even knows his name. They know it's like Atari and Nintendo.
Kind of like the Tucker, too many other big corporations get involved, and they just nudge out the guy that had the better idea because nope, that won't make us money.
Yeah, and then Nintendo looked horrible, so they actually hired a guy in America to like Americanize it so it would look cool for us, and they did. They Americanized it, made it look cool, and that's what we actually had as the original Nintendo, was something that an American reinvented the wheel to make it look cool. Because
I'm always a fan of an underdog. I'd like to see them do better because usually they have more altruist viewpoints about what they're doing.
But the Nintendo is what made it a family household name, and then of course Sega came out. And Sega started to compete heavily with Nintendo, but then Nintendo, of course, kept true to like being a kid game and doing like kiddie stuff and like cutesy stuff, and stayed that way. They still are to this day. Like
they reached a broader audience that way.
Yes. Yeah, and Sega kept going, and then they started to do things like Mortal Kombat, and then did the one where it was like you got to peep on people and kill people, and it was
they went a little bit too dark with it.
Yeah, and it was
I don't
like
know.
a really
I still really liked
game.
Sonic Pinball. I was never really big into Sonic the Hedgehog when it came to Sega games. For some reason, Sonic Pinball, an incredibly entertaining game.
Yeah, but those two games ended up making national news about like being like violent, and then that's what was the downfall of Sega, because they embraced those two games, whereas Nintendo didn't.
Yep.
And that Sega kind of got a lot of flack, and that started to fall apart. And then of course Microsoft was just at the precipice of becoming a thing, and that's when Microsoft realized like, hey, we need to build our own gaming system, and we can step in and step over.
Well, computers were the original gaming system in a lot of ways, but
it's an interesting documentary.
Xbox didn't come out to like what, late 90s?
Yeah. What, Xbox? Yeah, it was 90s. It was in the 90s. So pretty interesting, but
and even back then we should have boycotted them, but now we know better. So moving on.
Next.
Plenty of people had some good ones on there. People were trying to guess Galaga, Pong, like I was. Yeah, so they were going on the same train of thought we were, but a few people were still back on the original question, because Darth Skywalker is saying the Saints backup quarterback. He also plays RBTEWR. Those are just letters to me, dude. I
He's
don't know
a Swiss
what
Army
mean.
knife, does it all.
But yeah, I guess that's the guy you want to go after. And yes, invention is definitely the mother of necessity, for sure. Yep. So if you were an old episode of Room Raiders, I think I remember that show, what would you be most afraid of being found? So if somebody were to go raid your room, what would you be most afraid of being found? What makes you raise an eyebrow the most?
Honestly, the shame I have in my bedroom is all the piles of clean clothes that we don't put away, because we do laundry like incessantly, but so every couple has a strength, right? Like the wife's really good at X and the husband's really good at Y, and they work well as a team and whatever. And like my wife's really good at a lot of stuff and I'm really good at a lot of stuff, and they're different. Well, the only problem is certain couples, normally wife's really good at some stuff, the husband's not, and the husband's really good at stuff, the wife's not. But in our relationship, both of us suck at laundry. We just do. Both of us legit suck at laundry. I was raised with a mom that did all the laundry 100% of the time.
You can't be the compliment to every downfall of the other.
I know. So my mom did literally everything. She would like wash, dry, fold, and I just magically clothes just showed up in piles in my house, in my room, and I would put dirty clothes on the floor, and I just magically showed up as clean clothes on my bedroom, on my bed. And then I went off to the Navy, and it was like, oh crap, I gotta like wash my own stuff, and it was like a struggle to learn how to do all this. And so it didn't help me that she did this, by the way. It like made me a struggle for life kind of thing. And so like I am OCD and like organized and clean and stuff in a lot of ways, in a lot of places in life, but not when it comes to laundry. And then my wife is exactly the exact same way. Her mom did exactly the same thing. Never had her do a day of laundry. And then she became an adult, and instantly she had kids and a husband, and all these things. And it was like, oh my gosh, she has all this laundry to do. And so, she's really good about kind of sucking up and just doing all the laundry, getting it all clean and getting it all sorted. So she gets it, picked up, cleaned, sorted. And then it's like, now it's all on you to put it away. That's it. That's where the buck stops with her. It's like, it's in piles. Now it's your opportunity. Well, the children, because their piles are smaller, they just grab their pile, take it downstairs, put it away. And they have like drawers, in there. So they deal with it. So the kids are good about dealing with it. But my clothes, I'm busy all week. So I just have a pile of clean clothes. And it's like the next time I look at it, the pile's doubled in size. And I'm like, oh my God, I don't want to deal with that. And then she's the same way though, but like she has a pile of clean clothes and she's like, I'll put it away later, and then she's like, I'm outside watering or whatever. So if somebody like comes into our house, I'm always just like, shut the door. I don't want anyone to see our clean clothes. Like we got piles of clean clothes that we never put away. And that's totally more information than anyone should need to know. But
I don't
have anything else I'm afraid of. Like, I mean, I can't be judgmental
towards that, but because I'm a single guy still, and my once every week and a half laundry might consist of 1 or 2 loads of laundry. And usually if they're dirty, they're in my hamper, in my closet with the door closed so you can't see it, or they're put away in my dresser. And I'm a big fan of hanging my shirts, so they're all hung up. So it's not really a big issue for me because it's a really small pile. The time that I did have a wife and 2 stepkids, let me tell you, I have a much higher appreciation for the for what it takes to actually get laundry done for a family, cleaned, folded, put away. That's a monumental task. So I give people wiggle room in a lot of ways for that, because when you're a large family, that's just necessity. Yet again, you don't have the time for stuff like that. So
for sure,
something I never judge anybody
on. Not only
on.
is it do you have time, it's do you make time. I mean, I ultimately could make time. It's that I don't make time because I prioritize other things. Like, for example, the next month, I get 3 days off over the next 25 days. Am I going to spend my 1 day off this week doing laundry, folding my laundry? Probably not. I'm probably not. Today, I'm spending some time with one of my daughters. This afternoon, I'm spending time with you right now, then my daughter, and then this evening, probably with my wife. So am I going to do laundry during that time? I don't really think so. Probably not. So I mean, I should.
It's all about quality of life too, because yes, there are some things in life that are priorities, but it's not a big priority when you only have so much time.
If I died tomorrow, would I rather have spent time folding laundry, or would I rather have spent time with my family? I think the laundry can wait, and I think my family can't. So I have to prioritize, and ultimately I can shut my door if someone comes over. The rest of the house, I mean, upstairs is always clean. So, for the communal areas, we keep it nice and clean, but for the bedroom, a pile of clean clothes, whatever. Do I desire to put my clothes away? Do I desire possibly to have a wife that was better at that, or myself that was better at that? Sure, I desire that, but I suck at it. She sucks at it. I accept the fact that both of us suck at it, and I'm okay with it. So
pretty tame stuff for being worried about somebody would raid your room for.
Yeah, I don't have like a 12-foot D sitting on the handstand, or like a big bong or something that somebody would be like, what's that? Or I don't have anything that I'm like scared of somebody seeing. Like, I'm not worried about any of that. Like, I don't have like, secrets in my closet, or, what I mean? Or like a big,
For those of you who don't know, Room Raiders was a TV show that was specifically about somebody who would nominate somebody, and then this TV show and this camera crew would show up and go raid their room, and they'd go look through your stuff, and they'd see what's in there, just in an effort to try and make the person who owned the room blush, and just to be good entertainment for people like, what the heck, And of course, there's plenty of judgmental people out there, but I think 90% of them are probably going like, oh, geez, now that I see this show, I'm going to keep my room more clean. I'm going to make sure to put that away. I'm going to make sure that doesn't stay out all the time, because you never know when somebody's going to walk in and be like, what the heck is this?
You know what, Joe Wagner, you're right. That's how I do my laundry when I do it, which is about once a month. I turn on jams and I just start folding. And
music does make things more palpable sometimes.
When I do it, I do all the communal laundry. So like all of the towels, all of the like blankets, towels, sheets, all that. I do all the folding for that for the family because I know how to fold a fitted sheet. Nobody else does. So I take that responsibility.
I'm a bit of a neat freak in some ways, but that's one that I won't even bother with. Nope, that goes into a big pile into the one drawer that I have all my extra sheets in.
But the truth is, when I do it, it actually takes to go through to fold all my clothes or hang all my clothes, put my clothes away and put all the communal stuff away. It literally takes 2.5 hours minimum to put it all away. But that's also because I take so long to do it that it's like the mound is like the size of like Mount Vesuvius. So I'm like, yeah. What up, apropos? What up, brother?
So I guess if I had to answer that question, that's funny because I don't. Most of the time, my room is available for all to walk through, even kids to a certain extent. I do have some knives and sharp objects and things that kids shouldn't be around, whatever. But they're all high enough up on shelves or mounted to the wall so that I wouldn't have a chance to get to them. But I think honestly, other than like, a prospective girlfriend or new relationship coming in and seeing my room for the first time, there might be a little apprehension of the fact that it's like, you have bookshelves full of great, interesting books, and you seem to be a knowledgeable person. You have a computer, and you're all clean, and you have, everything looks well organized, but yet you have a big shelf full of, like, random video games and DVDs, and you have a full shelf of Lego stuff, and, like, a few little odd things that might make them go, okay. I'm like, yes, I'm a mixture of immature, or at least, still a kid in some ways, and still being a well-functioning adult. So yeah, I kind of mix the two. But the thing that I'd probably be the most apprehensive about is, I've talked about vices before, and when I enjoy a certain vice, sometimes there is midnight cravings that mean that suddenly there's a bag of cereal and a cereal bowl sitting next to my bed the next morning. There's, extra glasses of water. There's, like, as being a clean person, not having a problem with that, there's like the once a month where kind of just, let it all hang out and not worry about it. And they might walk in at after that particular time and just be like, what the heck? Why did you just suddenly just feel like binge eating in your bed? Look at all these crumbs everywhere. It's like, don't judge. It's my once a month where I don't be a neat freak and don't worry about that kind of stuff. So it would only be situational on the, like, 3 weeks out of the month, no problem, or, 3 weeks and 7 days out of the month, no problem. But that one day I happen to let things go for a second. So one time somebody's going to walk in and I'll be like, it's never like this. So it'd be just catching me on the off day.
So apropos, you're right. I mean, if you've got 3 kids and you're responsible for laundry, letting it sit around is a bad idea. My wife does immediately sort and get the kids their clothes, and we make it their responsibility, and they put their clothes away. Like, the kids get their stuff done. It's not them. The kids, it's like washed, sorted, and given, and they deal with theirs properly. It's that we then have ours put into our room in our pile, and then we should immediately deal with ours. But after all of that, we just let it sit in our room. And normally it's because she puts it in my pile and she's like, I'm not putting his clothes away. Like, he can do it for himself, and then I don't because I'm at work, and then I get home and I'm like, the last thing I want to do at like 8:00 at night, I want to come home. I want to change. I want to eat. I want to touch base with my kids. I want to talk to my wife, maybe watch a show and relax and then go to bed. Like, I don't want to spend 30 minutes sorting, folding, hanging, putting, like, that's not what I want to do. So I'm like, I'll do it on my day off. Well, then I get one day off and it's like, I'm not going to do that today. And
priorities.
And laundry's been going all week. Like, I've been, she's good about doing laundry every day. And so, like, wash and dry and wash and dry. And all of a sudden I've got the piles, and it's like, and I'm looking at the pile like,
life is stacking up.
I don't want to freaking do that. Let's see. It says, Legos are a smart person's tool. That's what apropos says for sure. Don't forget the smartest people in history.
I thought it was all my mind
had
trick puzzles
bad social skills and were likely quite messy for sure. But I'll tell you,
some, not all.
I will tell you, I was the most OCD clean person that anyone had ever met before Connie. before my wife.
These are funny stories because I didn't know you at this time, and
Yes.
it's not to say
And
that
you know me now, and you're
not
like,
to say that
nope.
you're completely cluttery or super messy now, or
we
whatever.
are.
But still, like to the point that you describe it, I'm just kind of like, I don't see that.
Nope. He's not like that. No, I had to let it go. But when people met me, they were like, they would like touch a magazine, and then I would come back behind them and like straighten it, because they're like, but I was like almost OCD, like to the point where like it's literally I would need a medication because I would check the door and then I would go back and did I actually lock it? And I'd check it again. So I was literally borderline, actually clinical OCD. My house was immaculate. Nothing was on the floor. Nothing was out of place. I couldn't have dishes in the actual sink. Super clean. And then I met Connie. And I remember thinking to myself, like, I can't do this. Like, she's, she was like, at the time,
It's too haphazard. It's
not
clean
anymore.
enough. I can't.
But at the time, it was like, oh my God, there's like a half of a hot dog on the sofa. Like 2 days later, like this is not a reality I can
I don't know
live.
if I'm more freaked out by the fact that it's a hot dog on my couch or the fact that it's not moldy and
This was
degrading
her
yet.
couch, by the way, at her house when I first met her. And she's like, a single mom raising kids, working at 2 a.m. and like coming home and trying to get up at like 6 a.m. to get them ready for school, to get them off. And I was like, I don't know if I can do this. And an old lady gave me wise counsel, and she was like, it's simple. You either can or you can't. You either love them enough, you're going to look past this stuff, or you don't love them enough and you're not going to look past it and just move on. And you're not committed yet. Just
For their sake
break
and
up
for yours.
Yeah,
Make
just
the
break
decision
up with
early.
her and move on to another couple, another woman who's not going to have these issues. Or you can look past this because of love, and you're going to accept it, that it could potentially never change, and you're going to give her grace indefinitely if you decide to stay with her, potentially knowing that this may never change within her, knowing that you're going to stay with her regardless. And I was like, this is really good counsel, but really sucky counsel all at the same time.
Just proves a point further that marriage is 100-100, not 50-50. Thank you very much.
And
if you're not
so-
giving me 100%, I'm not giving you 100%, then what are we doing here?
Yeah. And so anyway, I had to accept it internally that I was going to have to just potentially forever give her grace in that realm. But over the last 20 years, my wife's gotten way better. She's become really, really good at, for the most part, being better. But I've actually gone to the opposite end. I'm way more laid back when it comes to cleaning. I am definitely not OCD anymore. And so I have to say, it actually was healthy for me because I went from the edge of being almost medicated OCD to now it's like, people are like, hey man, would you pick that up? You're being a little bit sloppy, bro.
A little bit too opposite extreme.
But it was
here.
because I had to learn to let go because I was so extreme that I would have gone insane being around all of that. Like I was like watching the kids, I'm like, I can't do that. And so I had to learn to let go. And in that there was healing. There was, it was helpful to really learn how to do that. And so there was balance in that for me. And so it was really the best thing ever for me. Now I've got to learn to get that pendulum swung back a little bit more because I got to unpack and stuff. You know what I mean? Like there's still boxes over there from moving.
Balance is a teetering point.
Yeah.
It's pretty much you either can swing one extreme or the other, but balance is hard because you have to sit there and it's a constant. You can't just sit there. It doesn't settle. It settles one extreme or the other. So anyways, moving on. I think we got 2 more questions each.
Yep.
So we can
do it.
Head into that. You're actually up next.
Yeah. All right. Debate the internet. Question number 4. You go to a girlfriend's house and meet her father for the first time. He hands you an auxiliary cord. This is really a timed question thing.
Sounds very specific.
Yeah. What song are you going to play for him first?
Oh, that's an interesting test. Get to walk in right away and show me your music taste.
Yeah. What's your music taste, young man?
So what song?
Yeah. What song are you going to play first for him? It's your new girlfriend's dad handing you a cord because apparently he's old school in technology and doesn't know Bluetooth.
Probably wouldn't want to go right with Katy Perry's "I Kissed a Girl and I Liked It." Let's see here.
Anything by the Stones is what I see. No
Is
Jedi
it
here.
is it Oh man, I'm terrible at this. Is it Nelly? It's getting hot in here.
I'm going down, baby. I'm straight in a Range
No,
Rover.
who's saying it's getting hot in here? I think it was Nelly.
What a wonderful world.
So again, probably a lot of songs that wouldn't go there. No, if this guy was asking me about music
Jeep,
and was worth it, yeah. If this guy was handing me an auxiliary part, wanted to know my music taste and was like worth his salt, I could pretty much play anything Led Zeppelin, anything classic rock in a lot of ways, and would hopefully get the respect right away. But that wouldn't be pandering. That would be nope. This is who I am, and this is what I like. If we can get along in this way, that's cool. If not, then we have to have we'll have to find one more way that this is just a subject we won't go to. Because regardless of what you think of me, Dad, I want your approval. I want you to like me, but it's not going to hinder how I treat your daughter and how good of a person I am to her. So. Hopefully that would just be more of a, hey, this is a good way for us to get along, not a, oh, sorry, you don't like Avril Lavigne, get out, you can't date my daughter.
I know, that would be weird. Mm-hmm. That would be weird. No, I'd be like, put it on.
Yeah, apropos, definitely not Banjo Odyssey by the Dead South. I don't want to talk about sleeping with my cousin. That's not a good one.
I'd put it on and it would surprise him. It'd be from the 50s and it'd be, oh.
Sinatra's pretty good. Yeah, but to which you'd be like, oh, so you're a playboy and alcoholic? Well, that's not good.
You, rubber ball, I come bouncing back to you. Ooh, ooh.
I'd look up YouTube and probably be like, the song that gets on everybody's nerves.
I love Bobby V. What's funny is the very first concert I ever got to go to in my life was a Bobby V concert when I was a kid, and it was his coming out of retirement tour in Nebraska. And it was like he was at a Methodist church coming out of retirement tour, and my mom was like, oh, Bobby V. Bobby V. Yeah. And the night has 1,000 eyes, can't help but see if you are true to me. So
I know a lot of off the wall stuff.
When you tell those, or rubber ball, I come bouncing back to you. Rubber ball. Have you never heard those songs? Oh my gosh!
I think bouncing rubber ball. That one sounds familiar.
Yeah. But anyway, so he was like super popular in the 50s and stuff. But so he like retired, of course, should have. And then he came out of retirement and had like this little concert, and he went around the United States out of retirement concert. And I was like a little kid, and my mom's like, no, I want to see him. And I was like, okay, and she was like, we're going. And I was like, okay. And so we went, and I got to watch him live. But as a child, when you're like a tiny little kid and you see live music, it doesn't matter who it is. If it's actually good live, it makes an impression on you. And it made an impression on me, straight up made an impression on me. So I was like, I would totally be like, I would do that and I'd be like swinging, The dad would be like, oh my God, you picked a winner.
Mm-hmm. Oh. So far, we got a lot of like-minded individuals here. I'm liking what I'm seeing.
Yeah,
Sinatra, B.B. King, Deep Purple, Queen.
Ooh, Metallica. That actually...
what? No Metallica?
Yeah, totally. Metallica would be great.
Yeah. Master of puppets and pulling your strings. Yeah.
Yeah.
For whom the bell tolls. Yeah. My kids love Queen. Started before they could walk. Nice.
Very good.
Yeah, probably a lot of songs I would avoid at that point, but that would mostly be just because, like, well, would I want to go comedic and then play something that would completely warp his mind off the bat, or would I want to go straight to, no, here's my music taste, and if we're similar, we're going to get along. Stereophonics.
I'd probably, the thing with Bobby V is it's probably before his time. He'd probably be like, what is this old crap? Why are you into this old music? What are you trying to do? What are you saying?
What are you living in the past? You don't like the future stuff? Man, get with the times. Live in the present.
He'd be like, my grandma didn't even listen to this stuff. What the hell's wrong with you? I'd be like, okay.
I'd pull out the best of bread. Yeah, see if he could get down some old school slow rock. That was like back before light rock was a thing.
Weird Al Yankovic.
Richard Cheese or Weird Al. There you go. Hey,
That's
get
hilarious.
up, come on, get down with the sickness. Your mother, get up, come. Yeah, I like me some Richard Cheese. It's pretty
That's
good
hilarious,
stuff.
dude.
Weird Al especially. Could sing me quite a few different songs because it smells like Teen Spirit. Let's see here.
Fruit.
Yeah, we got an interesting picture on this one. That's where
Fruit.
are they going with this? Oh, this is a hotly debated topic, so people could go for a while on this one.
The
but
internet, the interweb.
What are the best Starburst flavors?
Yeah, well, at least there are Starburst flavors. That's the thing. Other candies. They have different colors,
Nice and white
but it's the
satin, good
same
one,
dang.
too.
It's the same dang flavor, and so at least Starburst they actually do different flavors. I love strawberry for Starburst.
I'm not a cherry fan of anything else usually, but when it comes to Starburst, it is the cherry and the strawberry. Those are two.
Yeah,
Like, don't worry,
for
get
sure.
me wrong. The orange and the lemon are all right, and I'll eat all of them. They're all good stuff. I like the it's with
lemon.
Starburst. It comes down to texture, and that's just an amazing taffy texture that doesn't seem like you're eating pure sugar, even though you probably are. But
Yeah, it's like 90% sugar, but
yeah, but
like we're 90% water, but we don't. Doesn't look like it.
how am I holding it all together? I don't know. It's a metaphor for a lot of things. But yeah, I would say that cherry and strawberry are the two best flavors. And if you don't agree with me, then I'll
Ooh,
fight.
green apple. But Matt B says green apple. Interesting.
Oh, that's right. They do have some different
Cherry
flavors
by a
out there
mile?
now than just the original four. So
Yeah.
that was an easy one.
Yeah.
We could hotly debate that one, but I've definitely seen other people that. I mean, here's a better question: can you place a wrapped Starburst in your mouth and then pull the wrapper out with no Starburst in it?
I could. Would I want to, though?
I mean, I don't want to think about what's on the actual outside wrapper, but assuming it's safe for human consumption other than just being wax paper,
Yeah, I can do that. I can also do the cherry.
be able to do this.
The cherry
tie
and,
the
like,
cherry stem.
Tie the cherry stem.
Yep,
Because I'm weird like that.
I have a talented tongue. What can I say?
Yep. And on to the next question.
Yeah. On that note,
And on that note, if you could only watch one sports team for an entire decade, which sports team would you choose to watch? Can only watch one. Can only watch one.
It's kind of an easy question, but again, I have to try and just take current sports out of the equation when it comes to a question like this
Barcelona.
because suspension of disbelief and all that. If sports were not in shambles like they are right now, I'd probably still have to stick with the Cubs because I still find them entertaining in spite of their ridiculous losing streaks and all their bad habits and what they keep on falling back into season after season after season, especially when it comes to those stinking White Sox. I still appreciate them. I still like the underdog. They're not so much the underdog anymore. They're really making a name for themselves, finally putting some money into some worthwhile players.
What hockey sports team, Joe Wagner?
Over a decade period, yeah, I guess I could still stick with the Cubs.
Yeah, one sports team for an entire decade. So mine would either be the Broncos or the Cornhuskers. It would either be college football or it'd be pro football. Something about college ball is just raw, and you never know quite where it's going because the guys are really good. They're semi-pro basically, but there's still a little rawness to it, right? And the rules are slightly different. I do like the rules of pro a little better than college, so I lean a little towards that. Plus, there's something polished about pro over that, but that's the other thing that kind of attracts me to actually college. So I don't know. I'd have a hard time picking between the Huskers.
I see no Jedi here has a great point. I do not like basketball. It's not entertaining for me to watch. I don't really see the point in it, but as entertaining as the Chicago Bulls were to watch in the 90s when we're talking the Pippen, Rodman, Jordan era, definitely a worthwhile decade to watch. It is definitely not the same Bulls anymore. They broke up the team. They broke up all the awesomeness, and it's just no longer what it used to be. But if we're on the same page here, of course, Michael Jordan being the greatest of all time, the actual GOAT, not self-proclaimed, definitely more worth watching than a lot of other sports teams. If I had to pick a decade of basketball, which would be the only decade of basketball that I could actually watch, boom, you nailed it.
Yeah, for sure. And then Joe Wagner said Avalanche. That's a good choice. Love Avies. Blue Jays for Matt B. Flyers for Icy Hand. Chicago Bulls for, I see no Jedi here. So, yep, the 90s, totally agree. Not a massive basketball fan.
Yep.
So that was
Gotta
just
appreciate certain eras that were just great and entertaining to watch.
For sure. It was kind of like the Oakland A's in the 80s.
Yeah.
The Oakland Athletics in the 80s with Jose Canseco and Mark McGuire. Come on now. Those two powerhouses in the 80s were insane. They made that team what it was in the 80s. Those two guys were absolute treasures to watch. Super, super fun.
Steroid-driven home runs of the mid-'90s. Yeah, those are definitely pretty entertaining to watch. We all knew what was going on, corked bats and performance-enhancing drugs and all that for
Not
sure.
in the 80s, though.
Not in the 80s, no, but I'm talking mid-'90s here.
We're
Or
quite
late
aware
90s.
what was going on in the 80s.
Yeah.
We were like, damn, those guys work out
We're talking
hard.
Barry Bonds, Mark McGwire, Sammy Sosa, all
Yeah.
the power hitters that came out of nowhere. These real slim, runner athletic guys suddenly bulking up ridiculously and just knocking
Mark
them out of the park
McGwire
every
was
few
just
times.
like a skinny guy, and then all of a sudden in the 80s, mid-80s, like
Sosa was
86,
hilarious. That guy
86, 87, 86, 87, he came onto the thing like smaller than me, and then all of a sudden he was just like
Barry Bonds walking up there with a little league
huge.
bat and knocking them out of the park. Come on, guys. We know what's going on there.
Yeah, the Bulls in the 90s for sure. That was
Mm-hmm.
amazing.
Plenty of good eras out there to watch and to pay attention to.
Yeah,
Definitely
I loved
entertaining.
I loved watching the
The 85 Bears. That was a good
watching the
80s
Broncos
team
in
to
the
watch.
90s. It was really fun to watch the Broncos in the 90s. And of course, we won 2 Super Bowls back to back in the 90s.
Yeah. Rocky's still looking for their World Series win. I'd almost root for them. Yep. I rooted for them when they went up against the Boston Red Sox when they made their ridiculous 22-game winning streak to go all the way to get decimated by the Red Sox, which I kind of saw that coming. I mean, there was a fluke in a lot of ways. They were a good team. I'm not saying they weren't, but it just like that was a knockdown, drag out first game, and then just swept the rest of them. It was just terrible. So there was cool things about it, but definitely showed that they were a pretty young team and didn't have the experience yet.
Yeah, for sure.
But we ready to move on to the last one?
Yeah, and then we do story time.
So, switching gears here a little bit. Hold on, Charlie. I think there's another gear here.
Another gear here.
How much money would it take for you to not drink for a year?
That's another drinking question.
Yeah, these are all barstool stuff, so I get it. For a lot of people, this is a hard question, but for I think the most of us here, we're all on the same page. It's kind of like, beer's cool, but it's not my life,
Yeah. So how much money?
How much money would it take for you to not drink for a year?
Well, it wouldn't take anything. I could
not much, right?
But I mean, if we're going to going to pay me off, I mean, I guess a couple, give me $5,000, I guess. I don't know. a couple grand.
Yeah.
I don't know. Give me a few $1,000, make it worth my while.
Anything to make it worth my while not to drink, because I'm already saving money by not buying beer, and then you're going to give me money not to drink for a year.
Wouldn't take a whole lot.
Nope.
I would do it just to do it.
I don't know. Let's just put a nice square number on it.
10 grand. There you go.
10 grand? Oh, that's even excessive. I was thinking like what, $100? No, like 1,000? Yeah. We'll say 1,000. 1,000 would be an easy number for me to be like, oh yeah, even though it's over the course of a year, $1,000 in a year is nothing these days, sadly. But when it comes to saying, oh, okay, I'm going to give you this money specifically, or I'll give you this money specifically when you can show that you have not drank for a year, easy. $1,000, that's worthwhile.
Bass Reich says anything will make my year. I know, right?
Not a hard one. That's
50
good to
euros
see
a day? Good Lord, man. He drives a bargain.
Hey, I mean, as long as we're asking, as long as we're setting the standard high here, let's go for it. I mean,
Yes.
might as well. I mean, 10 grand, yeah, that would be easy. That would be a cakewalk to not drink for a year for 10 grand.
Yeah.
No problem.
I guess.
1,000, I might have to think about it. There might be a few times throughout the year, but it's kind of like, you know what? I'm not stressed beyond belief. I'm not going to dive into a world of alcoholism, but I really need a beer right now. So that would be kind of hard. But when I think about 10 grand as opposed to $100 or 1,000, yeah, that'd be easier.
Yeah, 10 grand would be a nice limit that would be like, okay, I'll do it.
Yeah.
If they were like, here's $100, I'd be like, I don't need $100. I mean, I could do it for $100, but would that motivate me to make that decision? Probably not. If somebody said $1,000, I probably would do it for $1,000, but it still is on that verge of, I don't really know. It's not, I don't know if it's enough money for me to care.
Right.
I'd be like, well, I could,
Exactly.
and $1,000 is good, but do I want to go a whole year without having any alcohol? Maybe. I mean, I could do it. $1,000 is nice, but is it a motivating enough amount of money? I mean, maybe. That's basically where it teeters. At 5K or 10K, then it's a definite yes. I'll give up alcohol, tell me the time frame, and I'll do it. For 5K, I mean, that's a huge chunk of money.
Joe Wagner brings up a good point. He says, okay, figure out how much you would spend at a bar a night and multiply that by a year.
Well, I don't spend any at a bar every night.
I barely spend any time in bars, let alone now. So, yeah, that would be pretty easy. Like, I would really hope, I mean, I know for a fact I don't spend anywhere near 10 grand a year in alcohol, but I would be surprised to say that I've even spent $1,000 a year in alcohol.
Yeah. Oh,
that's probably pretty easy to say.
That's a story time. We got to remember for next week my story about the alcohol that I bought Do you remember at the other house? I had an entire.
Oh yes.
That's an entire story time. I don't think I've ever told that story.
Spoken about the guy who got you into that particular drink, but
No. I'm talking about the entire liquor store that we went with the truck. And
yeah.
I don't think I've talked about that.
No, that would be a good story.
Yeah. I mean, that literally was like $20,000 worth. Mm-hmm. And I paid $100 or $200. Anyway, yeah.
The deals that come your way sometimes, right?
That, or we could do that story, and then we could do the next one next week.
Yeah, that's true. I guess we are kind of on the topic right now, but
yeah. I don't know. We'll stick with the story, and then we'll do that one next time. But you just have to help remember.
Yeah, I'll help him remember. You guys help me remember.
Yeah. So next week we'll do a story about me getting into having way too much alcohol. How's that? You guys help me remember way too much alcohol as a story time story. Not me drinking too much alcohol, me having too much alcohol. Because that is a story. Never heard that one, alcohol. Yeah, Bass Reich's never heard it. I don't believe I've ever told it.
Yeah.
I to this day still haven't.
We definitely
have a massive quantity. And anyway, it's an interesting story how we came about it. I just have a ridiculous amount of alcohol. I don't ever have to buy alcohol again, really, except for beer. But
short story. I helped somebody move out of her house when she was breaking up with her husband and divorcing him, and she wanted some muscle there to make sure he didn't try and pull anything. So me and my brother were there to help her unload some stuff, and then to say thank you, she went over to her liquor cabinet and opened it up and said, "Oh, and hey, since we're here too, you guys go ahead and take whatever you want, for payment." She's like, "I don't ever drink, and this is his baby or whatever." So she's like, "Yeah, just go ahead and unload it." So we were like, okay. So we did.
Wow.
Just come to find I'm not a fan of sake. I got to say that. There was an awful lot of that in there, and I didn't really do much with that. But there's a few mixers and stuff like that. That alcohol hung around for at least 2 or 3 years. It was not like that much that hung around. Just, I don't drink that all that often. But that's an interesting situation to be like, here, thanks for coming and being my muscle and helping me get myself out of here safely. I'll repay you with his prized alcohol possessions.
Yeah, that's a pretty funny story time. All right. Well, I think we've done all the cards today, so we are going to evolve to story time. I'm going to stick with the story we had initially planned.
Yep.
There is kind of a theme to the end of the story. It's why I'm wearing actually this hat. And yes, and I do get beat metaphorically at the end of this story. So
we're pulled away further from the wall. I can't lean back now.
I know.
Goodbye.
Yeah. So basically the story comes out of course, I've got a lot of stories coming out of a lot of different eras of my life, but this comes out of when I was in BUDS, Basic Underwater Demolition SEALs, Class 211, but it was just before I got in there and then during when I was first in there. So before I went in there, when you go into SEALs, you have to have what they call a SEAL source rated job. So you got to pick something that is considered a SEAL source rated job, something you can do peripherally in the Navy that is considered a job you can do, as kind of like a backup if you're a SEAL. And really what it is they want you to have something that when you're a SEAL, you can take tests on that's easy. So you can continue to promote as a SEAL to like E4, E5, E6, E7, but the tests are easy. So they make you pick an easy job, something that's not too difficult, that's not too specialized. So they have a list of jobs that you can pick that are what they call SEAL source rated jobs. And so I had to pick one of those. And so one of them was sonar technician. I don't know why that was on the list because it seems pretty technical to me, but it was on the list. And I was like, okay, I'll do a sonar technician job. And sonar technician was actually in San Diego. And so I went to the Fleet Asquith NPAC, which is the Fleet Anti-Submarine Warfare Training Center Pacific, which is across the bay in Point Loma, which is just across the bay from the SEALs compound. And I went to A school there. And while I was in A school, I met an ex-Navy SEAL. He had retired from SEALs, and he was retiring from the Navy. And he was at the A school, and he did the same thing. He did his A school as a sonar tech, surface, STG, surface sonar tech. And then he became a SEAL, was a SEAL for a while, and he was retiring. And they sent him back to this base for about a year before he got out of the military. And so while he was on this base, he's tridented, he has his trident, he was a SEAL, but he was retiring out. He was trying to help all of us who were coming in as SEAL source rated sonar techs who were going to do A school and then move over and go into buds across the way, who are going to become SEALs. So he was trying to help us with PT, physical therapy, PT as in physical training, and do like runs and things like that. So he kind of took us under his wing, and he's like, he taught us like things to expect and, what mentally we should be prepared for and all of that. But one of the biggest things he did really was just, the PT, like the running and the push-ups, sit-ups, pull-ups, dips, like all those kinds of things. And he like ran us around ragged on the base, on the ASW base. And so he's like, all right, let's just do this every day so I can get you physically prepared, because really the mental side, there's nothing you can do about preparing for that other than knowing that you just have to stick to it. You just have to stay in there mentally, but physically you're going to get beat. It's like beating is a philosophical statement that says like you're going to get worked physically. And, it's not physically getting beat, although that has happened. That's another story for another day. But it's metaphorically.
Be prepared to go beyond what you think you're physically capable of.
Exactly. And so anyway, it's one of those things where he was trying to at least get us physically prepared. So he's running us, and we'd run down the beach, but there were parts of the beach where it was on Point Loma, where it was nice and sandy. And then there were some parts where there was like rock juts, where there was like lots of rocks that jutted out, and we'd have to run over the rocks. And he was like, you have to be okay with this, because there's times where you're going to actually do rock portage, surf passage, rock portage, where you're like, where you actually come on to the beach with the rocks, and you're going to have to do rock balance and stuff like that coming off of boats. And just listen, you're going to have good balance when you're on rocks and stuff. So just get used to this. So we were running on the beach, and we'd run over the rocks, and we'd run back and over the rocks. And we did this for months when I was in A school. But halfway through A school, I tripped. I freaking always hurt myself. It's just the way of the world. And I can't blame that on being left-handed, I don't think. Although I'd like to say it was because I'm left-handed, but literally I just tripped. One day I was just running on the rock. We were running, and we went onto the rocks, and we were running on the rock, and and tripped, and I put my hand down. As you're like falling, you use your hands to stop yourself, and I smashed my hand onto the rock below, and my middle finger broke. I broke my middle finger bad. Yeah, smooth move, exos, all smooth move. And I broke my middle finger. And he looked at it, and he was like, oh, dab, dude, you got to go to the ER or whatever, because they're going to have to splint that. I know. And I was like, crap. And so he's like, you need to go to the base across the street. And I go, why? And he goes, well, because if you go to MCRD, which is the Marine Corps Recruit Depot, he goes, because you're not a Marine, he goes, they'll give you your medical record, because your medical record is actually a Navy record, not a Marine record. And so they'll give you your medical record, and then you have to bring it back to our base and give it to your medical team. And I said, why does that matter? And he goes, because you can get rid of it. He's like, you want to get rid of it. Trust me. He's like, if you go over to BUDS, the SEALs, if you go over to SEALs with a broken finger, they're going to medically roll you the day you get there. You can't participate in SEALs with a broken middle finger. Like, that'll medically roll you on day one. You only get one medical roll. And he goes, trust me, when you get over there, you're going to get hurt. It's going to happen. It happens to 60% of the guys that get over there. You want to save your medical roll. So you can't let them know you broke your finger. So he's like, go over to MCRD and let them fix you or whatever. And then come back here with your medical file and get rid of it, trash it, burn it, throw it in the ocean, whatever you got to do. And so I took his advice. I mean, this is literally an ex-Navy SEAL. So I took his advice. I went over to MCRD. They were like, why are you over here? I'm like, well, I was just over here eating, and I hurt my finger, and I figured I'd just stop in. And they're like, okay. And so then they helped me.
No, I wasn't Hillary Clintoning my medical record.
I know, right? So I went to them. They're like, well, this is your medical record. This is a permanent part of your record. You have to hold on to this. Do not lose this. Immediately go to your medical department and give this to them. This is the very next thing you have to do. Drive immediately back to your base and give this to, they were very concerned that this was going to get lost. They were very concerned for me.
Guys do this all the time.
So I'm like, yes, okay. I grabbed it. I turned around. I'm like, and like burned it in the parking lot, like got rid of it. So there's no record that I broke my middle finger. Because I didn't want to get medically rolled. So then I go over to Buds. Fast forward the story now. I'm in Buds. I'm in what we call PRTT and also in phase one. Phase one, PRTT in phase one. PRTT is when you're forming your class 211, before we're waiting for all the guys to arrive. So we have our class. And then phase one is phase one right before Hell Week, like when we're doing that. During that period of time, a PRTT in phase one, my finger was still, it was so swollen. My middle finger was twice the size of the other middle finger. And there was a piece of my finger floating inside there. You could actually grab the middle finger and like move it. It was like a bone that was moving around, and it was swollen twice as thick. And you could physically look at my finger and go, it's broken. Like, it's broken. It's not normal. And I couldn't bend it like this. I would go, like, if I bent my hand, like, this is what my hand looked like if I did fists. Like, that's as far as I could bend my finger.
And even that probably didn't feel good with a broken finger.
No. It hurt like a mofo, but this is as far as I could bend that finger. But it felt good to do this. You know what I mean? Like, this felt good.
Sometimes it feels really good to do that.
This hurt like hell. This felt good. And so, anyway, I'm like, what are you doing in PRTT and in phase one? Exercise. What do you think? You're doing push-ups, pull-ups, sit-ups, dips. Dips weren't as bad because I was flipping off the ground. You're doing, dips, and they didn't really see that. The instructors, like Instructor Green, Instructor Brown, they couldn't see my finger really, really bad. But that's exactly how I started SEALs. I went into SEALs, and the very first, beginning was me, and we're doing pull-ups. We're doing pull-ups, and here I am. I'm on the pull-up bar.
Letting everybody know what you think about them.
And they're like, so you're all going to find out my last name is Cox, C-O-X, Cox. So it's, this is the worst. And I'm a seaman because you're in the Navy, seaman. Yeah, well, this is fun. So Seaman Cox, I know it gets bad. And I'm flipping off my instructor doing pull-ups, and they're like, Seaman Cox, stop flipping me off now. And so it's just going from bad to worse. It's just really, really bad. Really, really bad. And so they're like,
EXO, oh, Billy.
Yeah, I know. So of course I got beat a lot because they were like, stop flipping me off. And I'm just like, but I'm like doing pull-ups and they're like, stop flipping me off. So then they would, beat me, of course. They would get me down and have me do push-ups. Now push-ups, you had to try to, your hand was flat here and this hand would be flat against the ground, but I'd have to elevate this finger. And one of them finally noticed that it wasn't normal. And so he looked and he was like, let me see your hands. And I looked and he goes, is that middle finger broken? And I was like, I don't think so. I think I'm fine. And he's like, he could tell.
I'll let you make the decision for me, sir.
He could tell it was broken, but he also could tell I didn't want them to know. And this is the deal. It was still in the 90s. And so back then they still were okay with, like, if you were going to tough it out, they were going to allow you to tough it out. They weren't like, hey, we're med rolling you. Like, you had to decide you were going to med roll yourself. Mm-hmm. So they were like, is it broken? I'm like, I don't think so.
If anything, you'd almost assume that you would get more respect for it. Like, you're working through an injury, you're trying to tough it out, as opposed to, oh, you're injured, you're going to be, a problem to us or to somebody else next to you. Yeah. So they were like, is that broken? I was like, I don't think so. I think I'm fine. And they're like, all right, well, it looks broken to me. And I was like, I think I'm fine. They're like, well, you're flipping us off. You got to stop flipping us off. And I was like, I apologize for that, sir. It's got a mind of its own. I apologize. I'll try and keep it down. And they're like, sugar cookie. And so what a sugar cookie is, every time you flip us off, you're going to do a sugar cookie. So you're having a bad day, we're going to make it worse.
Yeah. So a sugar cookie is, if you don't know, you can look it up, Google it, Google Navy SEAL sugar cookie. It's fun. Not really. So we would be in the compound, we'd be doing PT, and I'd have to jump off the bar. I'd have to run all the way to the ocean, which was only about 50 yards. And I'd have to run into the ocean in my BDUs, whatever I was wearing, BDUs or my attire, whatever I was wearing, get completely wet completely immersed, literally dive into the ocean, completely head to toe. My hat was starched every morning, so the hat would look all crisp and beautiful. dive in. So it's disgusting now. Like literally my boots were soppy, literally disgusting soppy in the morning. This is like 4 a.m., 3 a.m., and I'm like, I'm disgusting wet now. And then I'd come back out into the sand, and then you push sand with your face because you're wet. So you push sand with your body.
You kind of just,
your
inchworm through the sand.
Yeah, exactly. But you cover your entire body with sand because you then look like a sugar cookie.
Mm-hmm. A not very tasty one.
That's a sugar cookie. And then you run back and you then continue to do PT with them. And so they'd say
and
sugar
you're
cookie.
Soaking wet and sandy clothes.
Yeah, let's see. Semen cucks. Yeah, I know, right? See, for someone who was a cop and so many other things, you have a forked tongue. What? Did you try taping your ring finger? Oh, man, that would have been, I wish I could have taped it. But if you would have taped it, it would have been apparent. Made it worse. Well, it would have been apparent that there was an injury, and I was trying to hide that there was an injury. So that was the issue. So anyway, long story short, I basically had to go through my training with a broken middle finger, and it was horrific. It hurt every day. Doing push-ups hurt. Doing pull-ups hurt so bad. You know how much weight on that middle finger? Even trying to elevate it, still I could feel the pressure pushing on it. It hurt really, really bad. The ability to lie, after I was talking about, yeah.
Fork tongue, yeah.
I didn't really have the ability to lie. They knew I was lying, by the way. Like, they knew it. They could tell I was freaking lying. So, but anyway. And then Matt B was like, why the heck did you join the Navy of all things? For buds. Why did you? That's all I ever wanted.
Mama didn't raise no wuss.
Yeah, that's all I wanted was buds. I wanted buds since I was 10. Literally when I was 10 years old, I was like, I want to do buds. I want to do buds. I don't know why. It's just what I wanted. So I did that. I went through and that's what I did. But
anyway, I wanted to be a Marine and I wanted to do demolitions also. I really wanted to blow stuff up legally back in the day.
Yeah. So a couple of things on that. One, first off, I'm a liar. That's we're all liars at times in our life. But no, that's not really the lesson.
Wish I could argue that point, but I can't.
But seriously, sometimes you just have to kind of persevere through pain, right? That's one of the lessons. Sometimes you have pain and you kind of have to just persevere through it. If you really want something bad enough, you just have to keep persevering through it. Even though people may misperceive what's going on, they may not understand what's going on, you just have to kind of dig deep and just keep going. You have to have tenacity. You have to know what you want and just keep going. Now, the irony, as y'all know the end of the story, the irony is I did end up getting medically rolled due to a 54-foot fall. I broke my back, neck, and hips. So I did have to use my medical roll. And then after the medical roll, I never ended up being the same human after that. And so I never ended up getting to come back and finishing. So it ended up having the same end result anyway. But I was able to go further and do more without the medical roll at the beginning with the finger. So who knows? But the trajectory...
You at least got to the point that you knew you could have carried yourself all the way through it.
But the trajectory was the same. But the second kind of lesson here is perception is different than reality. Like, there were instructors that actually thought I was flipping them off. They thought that I was mad about the PT and thought that I was being conspicuous about like flipping them off when in reality, I was suffering through a broken freaking finger. And it wasn't until a little later, one of the instructors kind of like came over and like inspected my finger and realized like he's doing it all the time. And like when I was doing push-ups, he could see like I was elevating my finger during push-ups and realize like, he's not flipping anyone off right now. He's, something's not right. So, sometimes you think you know something, or you think you see something, or you think something, this goes to like the whole okay thing. People are like, oh, I think he's flashing a white power symbol or whatever. But, he might actually just be like, hey, it's A-okay. Like, people have to be kind of slow to, think, it might not actually be what you think it is. You got to kind of slow down and just,
quick to think, slow to judge.
Figure out what it is the individual is actually doing before you judge what the individual is doing. Don't take what you think they're doing. Actually figure out what it is they're doing. Ask, talk, communicate, figure it out. But it's really, really crazy. Yeah. So, yeah, anyway, it's just, it was a weird day. It definitely made it much more difficult, but I persevered through the broken finger all to find myself, months later taking a large fall and ended up having a medical roll anyway. So it ended up, like I said, having the same end result. But I'm glad that I still took the same thing. Now, by the way, when I got out, they did ask me, like, what are all your medical injuries that you sustained while you were there? And my middle finger was actually acknowledged by the VA and recognized, but I have a 0% disability rating because I have full function, but it is at least acknowledged. So that is irony that it's not in my medical record anywhere that I broke it while I was in, but at least they acknowledged that they do see the injury and it was sustained while I was in the military. But it's at a 0 rating, which is appropriate since I have full function of my middle finger. Mm-hmm. But anyway, so it all works out at the end. So anyway, it was, and you guys all know now I was Seaman Cox. Mm-hmm. Super fun story that I'm never going to live down now. All of my viewers are never going to live that down.
You're welcome for all that ammo.
I know, all that ammo. I'm okay with it, though. These guys are homies, so homie don't play that.
And hey, to bring us all the way back to the beginning of the live stream, we were talking about concurrent views compared to likes. We were just dead even for a second there. We were at 12 views, 12 likes, so we reached it. It happened.
Yeah, so if you really want to know puns, you guys, on a last note before we get out of here, my first name, my wife dropped my name like a million times. It's William. But I know I used to go by Billy when I was a kid, right? My middle name, and I'm really going to, really Skype myself up, is Joseph. Guess what? Billy Joe, BJ, Billy Joseph, William Joseph, Billy Joe, BJ, Big Willie. Yeah. I mean, trust me.
The list goes on.
Why do you think I got picked on in middle school? Like as a child, I got picked on bad. My last name was Cox. Big Willie Cox, BJ Cox, like, come on now, Seaman Cox. When I went into boot camp, I was Seaman Recruit Cox. Are you effing kidding me? Like, I had to live with this, you guys. Uh-huh. Yeah, it's not my... Anyway, I've lived with this my whole life. You guys, there's nothing you could say that would faze me. I've heard it all since I was 5. Yeah. So... Anyway,
you think you got a different version? You went to the military having to go with that.
Exactly.
Come on, guys. They got nothing better to do.
The military was lame compared to 5-year-olds. In elementary school, 5-year-olds are far more crafty than people in military or even in high school or middle school. I mean, middle school was terrible, but 5-year-olds are way worse. So anyway, I appreciate you guys hanging, having a good time. Story time was fun. I do have a story time though.
We'll go to Matt B's question. If you are searching for my channel on YouTube, both S's are uppercased, but that's not going to get you any closer because unfortunately they let 15 other SureShots on there. But if you attach Star Wars to SureShot, that's my most popular video, and that usually pops up in the 5th or 6th level there. So unfortunately, there's no direct link unless I send it to you. But if you're just going to go to YouTube and search for SureShot, tack on SureShot Star Wars, and then you should find me easier. You'll see my ugly mug on there.
Joe Wagner, just really quick, asked how are the fires? The fires are about 50% contained. So
getting
good news.
there.
Yep, good news on that. But appreciate all of you coming on, hanging out with us. Now you have a bunch of ammunition for the future, as always. Don't let me forget about a story about alcohol, me having a lot of alcohol. I still have a lot of alcohol.
How he acquired all this alcohol.
It'll be an interesting story because it's kind of an interesting story time. So we'll do that next week. As always, you guys have a wonderful time. Make sure you keep your gaming on. SureShot and Warrior Cox out.